I feel like everybody cries.
I cried.
Their first couple years in real estate.
I cried
like
for
every
2
week.
years straight. And thank God my dad was such a great listener. I would call him almost every day crying. You know, here I am like 50 and I'm bawling my brains out. And this was what he said to me, and it changed everything.
So I know about your personal journey, and I think a lot of people may look at you and think that how you got to where you are today came very easy for you, but I know it took a lot of work. So what was your journey to get to this point?
Great question. I was basically a stay-at-home mom for a long time and had some part-time jobs and had a few things. And there was a moment, a turning point for me, and I will never forget it. I had the flu really, really bad. And I was literally in my bed for 10 days straight. Have never been so sick in my life. And now when I look back at that, I think maybe this was a reset for me. Maybe I know I needed that to happen because I evaluated my entire life. And while I was in bed, I said to myself, I want something more. I want something big. I want something magical. I don't want anyone to tell me that I can't do something because we don't have the funds for it. We can't go traveling to XYZ because we need to save for it. It really became, I wasn't angry about it, but it was a fire of what is it that I can do that there is not a ceiling. I can put myself 100% into it, change lives, including my own, and what does that look like? And literally within 3 months, it happened. We decided that we were going to move.
And where were you living at the time?
In Whitefish Bay.
Okay.
And we were downsizing because our kids were going off. My kids were in college.
And
so
were you a stay-at-home mom at this time, or were you working
I was
like
an
odds and ends?
esthetician, and I worked kind of.
I never knew that.
Yeah. Look at my beautiful skin. My God. So I was doing that part time, but that wasn't it for me. I mean, I loved the contact with people and the relationships, but that wasn't big enough. I knew that I didn't necessarily want to blow that up, and even if I did, there wasn't enough money in that. So we decided to put our house on the market. I had sold real estate maybe 20 some years prior to that for 2 years in Dallas. And I was Rookie of the Year. I flipping loved it, but it wasn't the right time for me. My kids were too small. My husband traveled, and I knew that I might get back to it, but it wasn't the time. So anyway, we put our house on the market, and the person that ended up being our real estate agent approached me and said, you seem like nice enough. But this person was desperate, Jay Schmidt. And I kind of laughed, but he was. And would you be interested in potentially working with me?
Ooh, I didn't know he approached you.
Yeah.
I love it.
He may say otherwise. No, he did.
Yeah.
He really did. And I said, yeah, I was actually, when this whole thing happened, I was manifesting that this conversation would happen.
Isn't it funny how when you, like, we talk about that reticular activator?
Yes.
When you put stuff out there, it just happens. So
Yes.
what was the time frame from when you were feeling fatigued, you had the flu, to when you put your house up to when Jay approached you?
3 months.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
3 months. So I did this part-time while I was doing my other job.
Part-time
And
with real estate.
Part-time with
Okay.
real estate, got my license, and I think at that point he was looking for an admin, and I actually had no skills at all. I was asked to scan something. I had no idea what that meant. I didn't have a laptop. I was absolutely horrible. So instead of firing me from that job, I started bringing in more business because I knew a lot of people. And hence the relationship started, the partnership started, and I threw myself into this brand new career with a lot of tears, I must say.
I feel like everybody cries.
I cried.
Their first couple years in real estate.
I cried
like
for 2
week.
years straight. And thank God my dad was such a great listener. He was like the, regional director of sales and for big companies. And I would call him almost every day crying. Here I am like 50 and I'm bawling my brains out. And this was what he said to me, and it changed everything. He said, Janine, when you start something new, it is so overwhelming. Think of it as if you were starting at Starbucks and you were a barista, which I could never do that job. I'm not smart enough. Right? And all of the learning that you have to do, all the memorization, everything is brand new. But there is a cap to really how much you can make there, right? Where you're at, there is no ceiling. And you can do whatever you want to do. You can make as much money as you want. You're in control of your day, your hours. Yes, you're going to cry. Pretty much suck it up and put your nose into it and call me tomorrow. And that's what I did. And I think that was the turning point for me. Like everything brand new is going to be hard, scary, tough, and you're going to have obstacles. But I just kept, because I knew in my gut, this is what I really wanted. And I enjoyed the freedom that it gave me, but I also even more enjoyed meeting these dynamic people that wanted to buy houses and sell houses. I got into their lives, and that was so interesting to me.
Is that what you enjoyed the most, and then what was making you the most emotional in the beginning? Like just the fact that you didn't have the skill set and the knowledge, and then that was new, or do you feel like it was other things that contributed to that?
I felt like it was the technical skill set that I didn't have. I had the people skills. I could sell, but it didn't even feel like I was selling because I come from a place of I'm going to put myself in their position, exactly where they are now. I'm walking in and I'm going to be them. And how do I want this to turn out for them? How do they see their future? And so I pop into their lives, and I always say this is a short-term marriage with my client because it really is. I mean, we are together a lot, and that's what I love. But the technical part of it was very difficult, and if I could have quit then.
Yeah. I tell this story, and me and my best friend laugh about this all the time. So when I was at Victoria's Secret, after you check somebody out, you got to ask what their email address is.
Yes.
And just speaking of the lack of technology and that knowledge, I was cashiering and I was typing in the email and the person said underscore. So I typed in the word underscore, not knowing that, underscore was, it's the underscore, right? And this girl looked at me like I was 50 and she was like 15 and said, it's hello underscore.
Yes.
And I feel you on that technology piece. I feel like it's not something that we were taught. We went from not having any technology, computers, anything like that, to all of a sudden, it exploded.
It exploded.
I feel like I missed the boat a lot of times in that too.
Yeah, I completely missed the boat. Yeah. So that was the biggest learning curve for me. Everything else seemed to be fine. It was that part.
And then did you and Jay start a partnership right away, or did that take a little bit to kind of form that?
It pretty much started, like I said, he was desperate. It started, this is another moment I will never forget. I was still making $10 an hour working for him, keeping track, and it was getting silly because it's like, okay, I work 15 minutes doing that, and then, okay, an hour later, 20.
So $10 an hour is what you started at. Yeah.
So I finally said to him, this is not working. Like, I need something a little bit more substantial, and we got to figure this out. He goes, yeah, we're going to figure this out. So we were in the car one day, and I think he may have pulled over. I believe. In my mind, he did. And he said, Janine, I've got this figured out. I said, okay. So he came up with this structure of how I was going to be compensated on every transaction, whether it was mine or his. And I thought...
And at the time, was it just you two? Or
just
did you have other people?
Just the two of us.
Just you two.
Just the two of us. And he took a big risk, doing this. But long story short, that's the same structure we have now. And it has been life-changing. Have I brought a lot of money to the organization? Absolutely. But it's structured that I want to see everybody grow on our team, and it's a win-win for me to make sure. That's why having a team is so great, because we want each other to win. So that was a big pivotal moment of, okay, this is the structure, I understand it, and it took off.
And now your role in the team.
I'm director of sales.
Okay.
So
what does that all entail?
So basically, I still have my own core business. So I still sell a lot of real estate, but then the salespeople, I meet with them one-on-one every single month, and we kind of go over where they're at, their goals, so on and so forth. Both Jay and I, they come to us for advice, transaction advice, what's going on. So I would say a good part of the week is filled with agents calling me, hey, I've got this problem. This is the most interesting part.
Do you enjoy that part?
I love it.
Okay.
For what I have noticed since, and we'll get into that a little bit later, how I have shifted my way of thinking, it is more coaching from a person to person, rather about a transaction. So the ups and downs of being in sales, the doubts, everything that goes into our minds, now I'm coming from a different angle of how can I help you personally grow? And that has been the most satisfying. And I think it works for our team because there's a yin and a yang, and I'm one of those. And that's what makes me happy, and it keeps the people on our team. I don't want just people on the team. I want really happy, well-rounded women and men. And the only way that you're going to be successful in anything, it starts from the top, and that's your mind. So that's kind of where I have developed that on our team, and I love that part.
And I feel like knowing you, I think we've known each other for 3-4 years now.
Yeah.
So this past year, I would say you're a completely different person.
Yeah.
Like internally.
That's what my husband says. I'm kidding. No, he doesn't.
Than a couple years ago.
Yes.
So what was the big shift for you to get to this place?
Yeah.
Where you actually seem joyful?
So it was about 3 years ago, and I was hustling like nobody's business. And I basically put all of my needs aside because I felt my clients were number one, number two, and number three. I was way down there. I put my family in there. I had no sense of boundary. I compared myself to everybody else. I was extremely sensitive and fragile. And I knew that either I was going to step away from this career entirely because I was on the verge of complete burnout. And I hid it really well. I suffered silently.
Do you think Bill knew it and the kids?
I think they did because I'm sure I wasn't the happiest person in the world. Again, I was really good at faking it, but my relationships that I had with my friends, really, they were there, but I didn't have any energy for that anymore. So it was during the pandemic that you had that time to kind of reflect, and I said something has got to drastically change. I need help. I need to find out who the heck Janine Werner is.
So up until that time, do you feel like you didn't truly know who you were?
I lost myself. I think I did. Before I started real estate, I think I did, and I was ready for that change, and I became consumed with it, that I was, working 40, 50 hours, and then when I was home, I really wasn't present. So after a while, like, the wheels started to fall off the bus. I wasn't taking care of myself mentally, physically at all. I mean, I remember I'm like, I don't even have time to go to the doctor. Are you kidding me? Like, what the heck? That's like low priority.
Yeah, I remember when I had my kind of breakthrough, I didn't even have a doctor to call.
No.
Because I would just skim my appointments.
Right.
Because it was like the last thing I wanted to do or take time for.
Yeah, I didn't want to face it.
Yeah.
I didn't want to face that appointment. And so I think that's when I mentally and physically really kind of hit the rock bottom for me. And I knew that I was worth it. I knew what I had inside of me. And where is this Janine? Where is my friend? I lost her. And I needed to find her again. So I searched, and someone had given me a name, and she literally lived in Seattle. She was a woman's coach, and she was a therapist, but she stepped out of that and became a women's coach. And I thought, I saw her on Instagram or something. I went, you know what? She speaks to me. I get her.
What can I lose?
What can I lose? I am so freaking desperate right now. So I emailed her, and she immediately responded, and we had a one-on-one conversation on Zoom. And that was the beginning of my complete turnaround. She is coaching me. I've gone through, a coaching program, to be certified. And I am a completely different person. Like, both feet are on the ground.
So when you hired her as a coach, it wasn't necessarily for business.
Oh,
it was more internal.
No.
Yeah,
no.
Internal.
I have had business coaches, absolutely wonderful. But in complete honesty, at that time, it took me further and further and further away from myself. So I went through like 4 coaches. I finally found someone that I really connected with that was looking at me as a whole person, but it wasn't enough. I wanted something much deeper. I wanted deeper relationships, not only with myself, but with my family, my friends, and other women who were like-minded that were also on the same journey. And I went on a retreat to Maui with this group of women led by Jessica Butts, who is my coach. And that is when it started.
And what year was that?
This is 2024, so 2021.
Okay.
And when I went back, or 2020, when I went back the following year.
And is it always with the same group of women?
No.
Okay.
But the second year that I went back, it was so profound. I knew that I had done a lot of work, but the women that had been there the year before said to me within the first day, Janine, you are a different person. You completely seem so grounded. And it wasn't a show. It's like, I'm like, here I am. And you look different. You present yourself different. And that's when I knew I had done a lot of work. And I'm always working.
Oh, for sure. And on that internal work too, I feel like you can do it. You don't see the progress that you make that others do. For some reason, it takes a long time to see that.
Yeah, it does.
But then you look back like 5 months, we both are big journal fans.
Yes.
Are you journaling here today?
No,
during
this
the
is not my
podcast?
journal because I have a certain book that I use for journals in all different colors. No, this is but I just thought it was pretty and I'm going to use it for something.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
so
like the journaling, when you look back and you see, like, I don't know what you put in your journals, but when you look back and you kind of see where you were, it's like, gosh, I have to give myself more credit.
Yes.
I did come really far, and I'm not that person I was even a couple months ago.
Yes, because I needed to step into being and stepping out of doing because my doing was literally taking my soul away. And so I think I always had a hard time just being. I'm a thinker. I'm always like, I'm always thinking like, what's next, and never really happy with the status quo. So being was very difficult for me. And that's one of the things that I do, and one of the things that I coach about is having a morning routine, which if you would have told me that 5 years ago, great.
I don't have time.
I don't have time. That's like, I'll do it. Can I do it later? But
or you check a box, right?
I check a box, or it's such a It's a journal that you're just prompting and you're writing, and it means absolutely nothing. And I also was writing in my journal thinking that my kids are going to pick this up and read it. And we talked about this yesterday, I think, on the boat. And they're going to go, and I was writing it kind of for that, like in case someone now I don't care.
Like a love letter to my children when I'm not around.
And rarely in my journals do I even talk about my kids or my husband. And I love them all. It's Janine time. And that was really profound. Yep.
So you mentioned just being, but I feel like a lot of us women feel like we're not valuable or worthy unless we're doing. Right. So where do you think that comes from?
Society.
Yeah.
You know, society. And I think that is absolutely the truth. And when I now have been on this journey and I see these busy women, and they're determining their value on how busy they are, how much real estate they've sold, blah, 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 blah. Before I would say, oh my gosh, I have to do that too, or I need to attain that. And now it's not that I look at them and pity them, but I look at them and honestly what I'm thinking is, I hope that you are taking time to just be, and you probably aren't. And I want to be here for you as a resource to help you, because to be honest, I probably will have one of my best years ever this year.
This year, okay.
Yes.
But I feel like best year professionally speaking, right?
And
but also personally.
Both. And if I didn't have my best year professionally, I would still have my best year.
Right.
Right?
It's no longer defined by numbers.
It isn't.
From a business standpoint, achievements.
It isn't. However, I feel as though, and next year may be completely different as far as production-wise. I don't know. I feel as though because I've worked on myself from the very top, I have such strong boundaries that I am attracting people that are of like mind. And it just kind of comes. And it isn't as difficult because I'm presenting myself different.
Yeah, and there's my coach talks about an interesting concept, and his is always be the buyer. And it's interesting because we're in real estate, and you kind of would rather work with sellers, not buyers, but always be the buyer mindset is a lot of us had to sell to get to where we are.
Yes.
Right? A seller is the one who can get rejected.
Yes.
When you're a buyer, you do the rejecting.
Yeah.
Okay, but you can only be a buyer when you start to attract clients and you're not seeking and selling, and you have those high standards. People are attracted to that. I'm attracted to you because of that.
I'm attracted to you because of that.
I enjoy hanging out with you, and every time we're together, I know maybe a couple years ago, we would be those people that would talk about business, and it would be right away like into numbers and what clients are we working with. And now I don't think we talk about that at all.
At all. Yeah. I can't remember the last time we did.
I don't know what you're doing this year. Professionally.
And
but I do know that you're traveling and you're enjoying life. And that's so much more attractive to be around.
Isn't it? Absolutely. Yes. I'm actually.
Did you feel guilty on the boat yesterday?
Not at all.
Okay, but 3 years ago,
I would have felt horrified.
Taking the day off to go on a boat with friends. Agreed.
Absolutely. Just. So I, like now, every year in January, last year was 2 weeks, this year will be 3 weeks, and take 3 weeks off. Go to
every January
to Anguilla. My happy spot.
Do you go with Bill or are you by yourself?
Yeah, I go with Bill. I bring him along.
Sure.
And that is my paradise. So stepping back even further, like 7 years ago, when I was in the heat of it, we all went to Anguilla, our kids, Bill and I had a horrible time. That was my happy place. Hadn't been there in so long. And the whole time I was there thinking, what am I missing? I should be doing this. What's going on at home? I need to call this person. I was a miserable.
You're never present.
I was a miserable person. I can look at photos and go, oh my gosh. And this past year, not one thing. I journaled every day. I did 90-day goals for myself. I have this thing that I do, my routine, and I was so set up emotionally. I enjoyed every second. So that is the change. Yep.
And that's the reward.
Yes.
Right? It's the reward.
Yep.
So speaking of your morning routine, is this part of your morning routine here, this journal?
Yep.
Okay, so what do you do for your morning routine?
So it depends. There are mornings where I really don't want to journal. But that's okay because I don't put any pressure on myself. We have enough.
In journaling, I think when people sometimes think of it, it's not like today I had a podcast and I was with Janine.
Right.
Like journaling for you is different, right? Like you write down deep stuff in there.
Yes.
Gratitude.
Yep. and I'm doing more of the gratitude. So I needed help with prompts. I really didn't know where to begin. So then I literally Googled journal prompts, which I think I have on here. And so if I get stuck, like an example, what do I think are my greatest strengths? How do I want to be remembered? Who was the most positive impact in my life? Sometimes just having like 15 or 20 prompts gets your juices flowing. But then I have, sounds woo-woo, and it is, I have tarot cards that I have a couple sets in particular that I like. And I've shared this with my Heal the Hustle group that I run. And I literally will pick something out, and it's long, and it's a woman who writes these cards, and then there's a book that goes with it, and they're all deep questions, and then it asks you questions from that question. And then I go in and I write about it. That has been extremely helpful. Or I have a lot of books, and I'll read something, and I'll stop and go, I need to write about that because that resonated with me. So most days I do that. I did it this morning. I have a playlist on my phone, and I'm getting sick of it. I got to be honest. So I'm looking for some new music, but I play. It's almost like a pacifier. Like, okay,
soothing.
gotta put that on. So that is going. I have a basket. So my journal, my books are in there. My candle, I light that candle, and Janine is in the window every morning. Usually hell or high water, I'm doing something. And sometimes it might be I'm just going to sit there and look out the window. Sometimes
It's
I don't
hard
want to
just sit still sometimes.
I love sitting still now.
I used
find
to
myself
struggle with that even for
Yeah.
like a couple minutes, and I feel like the reason we don't like to sit still is because we're not happy with who we are, and when we sit still, all the thoughts come to the top of mind, right?
Yes. I look out the window and look at the birds and the squirrel and whatever it is.
I think it's a sign of health when you're able to do that, for sure.
Because I'm being and I'm not doing. So from that, I have the boundaries. It kind of sets up my day. But I also have this thing where I have my core values and I have my theme words. So
and what are some of your core values? Would you mind sharing that?
Yeah.
Or is that too personal?
No.
Okay.
So I have...
And you reflect on this every single morning?
Yes, I reflect on this every single morning, and I'm about to change this. It's not that my core values have changed, but I think some might become a little bit more important. So I did this a year ago, and it's ready to go. I'm going to keep some, but some of these are core values and my theme words mixed together. So for me, this past year has been humor. If I don't have humor in my life, I love to laugh. Especially with you.
We laughed a lot yesterday.
We did. Creativity is super important. I love art, all of that. Fun. I wanted to have fun in my life. Health. I needed, the past year, I've lost 55 pounds. Because, girl,
believe me, you look incredible.
I'm looking at health. And
so what are you doing for your health?
So one of the first things is being present really helps with your health because you're thinking about it all the time. What goes into my mind, except for yesterday when I had a handful of peanut M&Ms.
I know. When we were out there yesterday, I was like, how do I track that?
Yeah.
That bite of that flourless cake I had, like, in my eating app.
I know. Well, I had 3 bites. Anyway, if this is what I say to myself, is this the best thing for my body? So what I really have done is eliminate most carbs. And as much as I loved wine, because I went to Napa a few years ago, and then I came back to wino. Not like drinking too much, but I love the wine. I've eliminated all of that. I do Pilates. I'm just mindfully eating. And I rest and digest, but I don't do it at the same time.
Gosh, that sleep is so important too.
So important. Freedom, like freedom is really important. Freedom to express yourself. You know, freedom to feel like it's okay to say this isn't working for me. Just freedom in general, being so grateful to be in this country and have freedom. Love. And so under all of these words, I have some things that I look at, like under humor, I have giggle, laugh, comedy, girlfriends, the movie Bridesmaids. If I need some good humor, like quick,
You're watching it.
I'm watching it.
Yeah.
So I look at this stuff every single day. And then I have to remind myself, because this was a big thing that I struggled with, is staying on my side of the net.
And what do you mean by that?
So if it isn't something that really affects me or someone didn't ask me in, I kind of stay on my side of the net because I was so busy jumping over the net. I'm going to help you solve that problem. I'm going to do that for you. That's kind of been my MO. I've been the cruise director. I'm planning this for everybody. I'm going to jump that net. So by visualizing staying on my side of the net, it actually turns everything back into me. And instead of being a doer, because doers jump the net, I'm now just being. And that has been helpful. I don't do things that I suck at. I suck at a lot of things. A lot. And that was one of the things I struggled with technology. Actually, if in my new self, I would have said, girl, you need to sit down with somebody and they're going to teach you, and then you're going to find somebody that's going to do this for you because you suck at it. And that's actually bringing you down. That's putting you in your back seat. So now I concentrate on all the things that I'm great at, and I designate as much as I can to people that do a better job at things that I suck at. So my day is happier.
So like your superpower then is what you focus on.
People.
Yeah. Okay. So people is your thing.
People.
People, relationships, connecting.
Yep. You know, when you see those real estate shows where they'll say, shake hands, yep, we're going to do that price, and you walk out, that I look at that and go, I remember watching it thinking, I want to be that person. It's not like they're taking the easy way out, but most people that are people aren't really good at all of those details, right? So I get that now. And I took that as a negative. I can't be at all. Honoring my schedule. I honor the shit out of my schedule.
So when you say honor my schedule, do you have certain hours that you do, or is it like time off, I'm not interrupted? How do you honor your schedule?
Yeah, so because of my personality type, because I had to figure out who I was, so I'm really big into the Myers-Briggs. Like I am an ENFJ. I'm an extrovert, an intuitive, feeler, and a judger. And with that personality type, I am a planner. Like I need to know what's going on today, tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. Before, I would have that schedule, but if something came in and I had something planned personally, backseat, not anymore. If someone would call and say, hey, Janine, we want to look at a house and I have, an appointment, I will say, actually, I have an appointment at that time with this or this work. 99% of that time, they will adjust their schedule. So I honor that. I'm honoring myself. If I'm going to spend a weekend away, I'm honoring that. I have planned for someone to take over while I'm gone.
And you unplug now? Where
Yes.
you used to not? Okay.
Nothing seems to bother me as much because I've realized that 90% of those things are not 911s. I'm responsive, but I have my boundaries.
You have to have time off though too.
Oh, yeah. As much as we give as women or just as a person, we're out there and we're pleasing people and we're doing our job. All of that, as extroverts, that's what we do. We have to take the same amount of time to recharge. And that's what I wasn't doing. So protecting my calendar is really, it's Janine recharging because I will feel depleted and I can't give you what you need. And that's really the start of the whole thing of me doing this big change, is that I wasn't recharging.
And I think those boundaries are really hard to implement with people who you may not have had boundaries before.
Right.
Right? Or people who don't see the benefits of boundaries. It's not I'm trying to keep you out.
Right.
Like my definition that it just makes me embrace it more would be that boundaries are there for me to love you without losing the best of who I am.
Yes.
And when I come at it with that attitude and mindset, it's easier for me to have boundaries. And we all need them. Boundaries is a sign of a healthy person.
Yes. And I feel like, and I don't know if you had the same thing, but you will lose people.
For sure.
You will lose people. And I remember my coach told me this, and I was so afraid of that, but I did lose people. And I also have this thing where some ships need to be sunk. And that was hard. It could be a person, it could be a way of how you did things in the past, because we tend to hold on to hope that they're going to change or the situation's going to change. And then you're kind of losing yourself in that. And I had to sink some ships. And as painful as it was when I was doing it, it has definitely helped me moving forward.
I feel like getting healthy, though, can be a lonely journey.
Yes.
Because you do lose people along the way.
And that's when you need to surround yourself with like-minded people. So when you start this and you do find yourself adjusting and maybe losing some people, it is an opportunity then for another door to open. And I'll never forget one thing that my coach said, and this was 3 years ago. Do you feel like you need some deeper relationships, maybe more girlfriends that are like-minded? Because I think, Janine, that might be missing from you. And yeah, because I was so busy doing that. Then I started setting all these new boundaries and working on myself. There were some people that didn't necessarily like that. But I must say that my 3 true blue friends always were there for me. And thank God for that.
And you've gained other relationships too.
100%.
Along the way.
100%. Yeah. My life has opened up. Yep.
So it's no wonder why you've now started a program called Heal the Hustle.
Yep.
For women.
Yep.
And where did that come from? I mean, we talked about it a little bit.
Yep.
And what does that program look like? How long is it?
Yep. So I started it back in January.
This year?
This year, 2024? Yeah. And I put it out there to 8 women. We started via Zoom.
And when you picked these 8 women, was it women that you kind of felt were maybe at a place that you were a couple years ago, or?
Yes. Or they came to me and said, I have noticed this huge transformation. What are you doing? I said, actually, I'm going to be rolling this out myself. I've been working with my coach. I am, a certified coach, blah, 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 blah. And when I do, I will let you know. So I did. And it's basically, it's a program of, who are you? So first thing we do is we do the Myers-Briggs and we find out who
That's
is your
a personality test,
Yep.
right?
And
Okay.
you are born that way. It's not something that if you were born with a different set, you would be this person. That cannot change.
And you don't want to change this, but it
don't.
just provides insight into maybe how you do things, your behaviors.
And you want to lean into that because I think I was resisting a lot of things that were coming up for me and my personality. And I would say, oh my gosh, that's not good. I need to do. So I just started leaning into who the heck I was. So that was the big first part. That's the top of the funnel.
You're embracing your authenticity, right? You're being who you are.
And when you're collaborating with other women in a group, it kind of just gives you permission to do that. And then where are you going? What are your beliefs? So what are your core values? What are going to be your words that you're going to be looking at every single day? What are those? What are your theme words? And then how in the heck are you going to get there? So then I have a whole 90-day goal sheet that we go over, and we are supporting with each other with that. So it's like your thoughts, your beliefs, and your actions equal your life. Mm. And one of the things that someone said to me is focus on what you want and turn away what you don't want. Mm. And just that simple statement, I look at that every single day. Focus on what I want and turn away what I don't want. Mm-hmm. It has opened up so much great energy and joy with myself and other people.
And out of these steps that you mentioned, do you see women struggling with one step over the other? Or like a harder step to get to next?
I think what most women struggle with that I have seen, and I can include myself on that because I had to go through this program more than once for it to click, was the morning routine. Mm-hmm. We have so much input that we have in our minds and our bodies, and I realized that I have to do a lot of outputting. And that's, I think, the hardest thing for women is they just don't know where to start, and there's a huge roadblock. So if they don't get that, then they feel like they're not going to get any of this. So that was, I think, the biggest struggle, and permission to step away. So I always say, if you want to spend the day in bed, and this was profound. My coach said this to me, and watch Netflix, make popcorn, whatever it is that you want to do, you planned it because that's what you want to do. Then do it. Give yourself permission to do it. Like, that's okay. You need that day. I always felt super guilty about it.
Same here.
Yeah. Like, oh gosh, no, that's a sign of weakness.
Right.
Everyone's out there going and doing. But then when I started doing it, I recharged myself and I came back as so great. Mm-hmm. That is one of the hardest things for, I think, us as women or human beings to do.
Mm-hmm. To not do anything.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. To go. So to really step back and recharge. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then with your program, is it a year long, 6 months?
It is 6 months.
Okay.
Yep. And I just did a team building yesterday, actually, for our team, which was absolutely amazing. So I want to do more of that, where I will go in to a group of people, a team, or just people that just want to take this. And we did the Myers-Briggs, and then we talked about getting to know yourself. And if someone that you're working with you're an extrovert and I'm an introvert, how do we relate to each other and how do people see us? Like, I'm not an introvert, but as an introvert, I'll think, oh my gosh, they're stuck up. They're just not sharing anything. They're just keeping everything inside. And the introvert is looking at the extrovert like, I wish they would think before they talked. They're just like, it's a bunch of garbage that's coming out of their mouth. Introverts like to be invited in, but they need to be invited. They wear their hearts inside their sleeves. Extroverts wear their hearts outside their sleeves. It's understanding the dynamics of people that we work with, live with, our kids. That's very, very helpful. So I want to do more of that too.
And I think we did one together. You led one, right, in January?
Yes.
January of the year, right. Yeah. And then right after that, you started the workshop. Okay.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that.
Thanks.
Yeah. I enjoyed unplugging for the day and just not doing anything. Yeah. And we did yoga.
Yes.
We had some conversations. We didn't go as in depth.
We didn't.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Good.
So, you don't know this, but I asked a couple people.
Am I going to cry? I don't like surprises.
I asked a couple people in your group to just share what you mean to them.
Okay.
So it's anonymous.
Okay. Oh, it is.
But Janine has the ability to cultivate an environment that feels safe, unlike anyone else I have ever met. She gives you permission to be in a place of improvement and pulls out the BS to create shared experiences amongst women that bonds people instantly. She did the work first, and if you knew Janine 5 years ago and saw her now, she would be unrecognizable. You feel her walk into a room before you see her because her presence is so powerfully positive. It's something that you can't help but want for yourself. She exudes a confidence and self-assuredness that one can't help but want to learn and emulate.
Wow.
To know her is to love her, and I'm blessed to simply be in her orbit. Message number 2 for you today, Janine. Do you want me to get the Kleenex?
Yeah.
Okay. From the moment you meet her, you realize that there is something special about Janine. She's genuine, caring, kind, and has a wonderful sense of humor. She lights up the room with her smile and energy, and I've had the pleasure of getting to know her more over the last 2 years. During that time, she's become a mentor, a trusted confidant, a friend. Janine is 1 in a million.
Wow.
Yeah.
How wonderful. Well, thank you.
Yeah. So sometimes I think when we do things that we're passionate about, we want to influence and have impact on other people, we don't realize
Right.
how much like we're actually doing for somebody. So I hope you know like what an incredible thing you're doing for women in your program.
Thank you.
And everybody else should just reach out to you if
Yes.
they're looking to eliminate that burnout and find
Yes.
more purpose and,
Yes.
and be able to just be. I heard that a lot from you today, to be able to just be.
And you know who you are. I mean, if you hear this and
It's resonating.
then reach out. Please. I did it, and it was life-changing to me. Yep.
So how many spots? Do you take like a selected group of women then?
Yes, and I may have 2 or 3 different, I call them like circles
Sure.
at the same time, so I guess it just depends. They can reach me, my website, Janine, Janine, Werner, WERNER.com, or you can email me at jwerner@kw.com. But either one of those, just reach out to me, and I will give you all the information.
And then what would you say for our guests today? Maybe 3 things that they could implement today to help get closer to finding fulfillment and purpose.
I would say take a step back, pause. I started out about what is it that I really, really liked about myself.
It's a hard question.
Forget.
Yeah.
But that took me a while. At first, I really couldn't find a whole lot. And then I gave myself some grace. So step back from the doing and maybe just give yourself a half a day of just being and maybe doing nothing. Figuring out where is it that you want to go? Like, where is it that you want to go? What kind of a person do you want to be that's in their core? And then ask yourself, in my next 90 days, because they're short little snippets, what are 3 things personally that I want to work on? What can I do? What is it that I need? Start there.
I think when you break it down
Yes.
with like 3 items that you want to do in 90 days, it doesn't
Yeah.
seem so overwhelming. Like I have to achieve this in a year.
Right.
It's all you need is 90 days.
And some of them were really fun. For me, it was in 90 days, I want to read 1 nonfiction book every 30 days because I wasn't doing that. So some fun stuff for you. Like put some fun back into your life. Enjoyment. What are some joyful things that you love to do and you haven't been doing?
I love it.
Bring it back.
So we end every podcast with this question, okay? And my coach always asks, it's called the R factor question. So if we were sitting here a year from now, what would need to happen in your life, either professionally, personally, or both, for you to feel like you made progress?
I would love to have as many women call me up and say, Janine, I want to be a part of this tribe. I want to work on myself because honestly, that would give me the most joy a year from now, that I can help women in general get them to where they want to be. That would be my everything factor. That I have helped change your life in some little way.
Janine, I love you.
I love you even
Thanks
more.
for joining today.
Thank you.
And thanks for all that you shared and
Thank
for being
you.
vulnerable and honest.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.